Hello and welcome to our very first live Q&A event running out of my school community. It's not too late to join, so I'm going to pin the link in the comments of this video so you can join my free school community and not actually miss out next time. So, to begin with, how is this going to run? Over the course of a week or 2 weeks or so, I've been randomly posting comments around school and on my socials, gathering questions and asking for questions for this live Q&A. So the question I asked was, if you had 1 hour with a parenting expert, what would you ask her? And the results I've got are actually really quite interesting. So I've actually recorded those results. I've taken a log and I've put them in to what I like to call and what I used to use all the time in the classroom, which was a wheel of names. So I'm going to share my screen with you now so we can have a look at this wheel of names. So hopefully you can see this. All right, so how the wheel of names works, over on the side here, I've put in all the questions that have been asked or questions that people want to actually hear. Want me to answer live. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin this wheel and then whatever question comes up, I'm going to answer. You ready? Here goes. I love this wheel. We have a winner. A teenage girl walking her dog. A man crosses the road, comes and says, "Hey, cute dog," and then asks for directions as his phone battery died and he needs to find a campsite nearby. Would you trust or red flag something is not right? This was a question posted in my community by a community member, and I actually answered that in the community. But I really appreciated this because this comes up quite a lot for some kids, and a lot of them are very hesitant and even anxious about this. I will just remove that question now, and then I shall stop sharing my screen so you can go back and see me. Would there be red flags raising in my head? Now, yeah, they would. The red flags will be raising in my head, in particular, if the man was asking the young schoolgirl not only for directions, but, hey, can you just walk with me while we're there and just show me how to get there because I don't know how to get there? They're the red flags that go up in my head. Because if your daughter is ever in that situation, they're probably feeling really uncomfortable. So what you need to do is you need to actually pre-warn them. If anything like that makes you feel uncomfortable, all you need to say to this person is, "I don't know, sorry I can't help you, but I'm sure if you go and ask the man in that shop over there in the local service station, they might be able to help you. I'm just actually waiting to be picked up by my father or my older brother. They're going to be here in just a minute. Sorry, I can't help you." Give them a script to actually use. A lot of times, they can be a little bit scared about that, and not know how to handle that situation. But you have to tell them to trust their instincts and trust their intuition. Because if they don't and they learn not to listen to that, then one day it's going to be screaming at them and they're not going to listen to it when they actually should. Hope that helps. And if you've got any comments or anything else or any other suggestions you would say to this one, then feel free to leave a comment in the end of this video or in the chat. All right, let's jump into the next question. I will share my screen again. I do like the random wheel of names. I think it's fun. Let's go. Right. How to stay connected to a teenager who has decided that needing you is embarrassing. The ones who push you away and then look devastated when you actually go. That particular contradiction keeps me up at night. All right, this is a really good question. I really love this question, mainly because it is something that a lot of parents are actually really worried about and really concerned about. wanting to stay connected to their kids. And you know my mantra, which is connection over correction every day of the week. So please, you need to keep at it. The ones who push you away and then they look devastated when you actually go are the ones who need you the most. They're just testing the waters. They're seeing how loyal you are. What are you actually going to do when they actually push you away? I'll stop sharing my screen right now quickly. And the fact that they find you embarrassing, embrace it. I love it. If you have not embarrassed your kids at least once in your life, you're not doing your job. If you have not had a teenager scream, "I hate you," and slam their door in your face once in your life, then you're not doing your job. That is normal. They will come around sooner or later. So you need to keep at it. And the biggest thing to stay connected with your kids is you've got to get a thing. You've got to have a thing to actually do. So, for example, this weekend, this Friday night, actually, I'm taking my 15-year-old to go see a movie in gold class, one we've both been dying to see and waiting for it to come out. So as soon as it came out, I booked it and I said to her, we're going to see it in gold class. It's a little bit expensive. Not everyone can do that, but it doesn't have to be something that big. It can be, hey, it's Friday. Do you want to go get a milkshake? Do you want to go get a drink? Do you want to do something? Just 10 minutes. Another way to stay connected with your kids is to have those conversations and get them to open up to you a little bit more. The best way to do it, and especially with boys, is to do it while you're driving. Talk to them while you're driving. You just say to them, hey, take those earbuds out of your ears for a minute, please. I want to have a chat to you, but don't make it so that it's very confronting. Just randomly start talking about random thoughts. Hey, I was thinking about buying a pair of shoes. What ones do you recommend? Like, would I look good in something that's fashionable at the moment? What do you reckon? Just something completely random. Please don't ask them about how school was. What did they do today? Are they up to date with their work? There is no way to get connection. You need to actually ask about them, their thoughts and their feelings and what they are interested in and what actually made the day good for them. That's a quick tip off the top of my head. All right, let's jump into another one. I will just share my screen again. I clicked out of it. Here we go. Share. Okay. Tick, 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 tick. Okay. Okay. How can I help them figure out what they want to do? This is a big one, and it is one that I love spending time talking about. Actually, I've written a good little story, a good little script on this as well. If we have time at the end, I'll actually read it to you and see what you think. So how can you help them figure out what they want to do? I'll just remove that and stop sharing my screen. How can you actually help them figure out what they want to do? It's a tricky one, mainly because there are so many options out there for our kids now. So many options. There are so many pathways for them to actually achieve what they want to do as well. Gone are the days where you had to work hard to get a good score at school, and then only then, if you did that and your marks were good enough, you could get into the university course or into the job that you actually wanted to do. So it is so hard for them. But this is something I say to my kids, and I don't say it all the time. And it's something I ask them to do. It's kind of like moments, as I talked about before, when we're driving in the car and I'm just they're staring out the window or they're looking at their phone or they're listening to their own music. And rather than asking, how was school today? Sometimes I'll just randomly turn and ask them this. I was thinking, you know how everyone wants you to figure out what you want to do when you're older, what you're going to do when you leave school? I actually don't like that question. I actually think that it is more along the lines of when you close your eyes at night time or whatever, or when you're just staring off into space and your brain is thinking all over the place about things, and you start thinking about things that you might want to do outside of school. Could be the weekends, what you're going to eat for dinner, what you're going to wear tomorrow. I'm curious, has your mind ever traveled further than a day or 2 days or a few months down the track, or maybe a few years, for example, like, I don't know, when you're a grown-up? And if it has, do you have a picture in your mind about what you might look like then, or what you might be doing? For example, I remember asking my son that one day while we were driving to school, and he must have been about, I don't know, about 14 or 15. And I never forget, he's not going to like me for telling you this, and he's not doing it now, but we'll get there. I never forget, he actually said to me, yeah, I do have an idea. I do have a picture in my mind. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I know I'm wearing a kick-ass suit, he goes. He's not wearing a kick-ass suit right now, but heading towards some sort of uniform. And when he said that to me, I actually said to him, okay, what are you doing in that kick-ass suit? There's a lot of jobs out there that can be wearing suits, right? And he goes, I actually think I'm in a court of law and I'm arguing and doing stuff. I'm like, cool. Can you keep that picture in your mind and start moving towards that picture as you're going through the motions of school, figuring out kind of what needs to be done to get there so that picture can become a reality? And he's like, okay. And then I let that go. And no, he's finished school now and he's in university, but he's not doing law. That's another topic for another day. So helping them discover what they want to do is actually a process. And being a teacher of 20 years, I'm the first one who's actually going to sit here right now and tell you that we are setting up our kids for a future that we have no idea what it's going to look like in 2 years' time, let alone 5 years' time. They are growing up in a completely different world with AI and technology, and a lot of those soft human skills are going to be coming into play a hell of a lot more. So if you can create or encourage anything in them, things like creativity, problem solving, communication skills, being able to articulate their thinking and use words and communicate that really clearly and really well, they're the skills that are going to be more important down the track when they are working in a job, doing whatever it is we want to do. And maths, of course. I've never met an employer who says, hey, hand me that kid who doesn't know how to do maths. Just saying. All right. Next one. Let's jump to another question. I will share my screen again. I'm trying to get through these relatively quickly. Otherwise, I'll have a tendency to sit there and babble. Okay. Let's go. Okay. We have a winner. I'm worried my child is mixing with the wrong people. What do I do? I'll just remove that. So this is an issue with friends. I think I've stopped sharing. This is an issue with friends. And being concerned about the type of friends that your kid is hanging out with. Very, very common. And yes, your radar, your parent radar is probably up high right now, wondering, how the hell am I going to get my kid away from these kids? I don't like what they're doing. First of all, how can you be so sure? Have you met them? Have you spoken to the kids? Have you spoken to the other kids' parents? Like, are you just judging a book by its cover? There are a lot of kids out there who may dress a certain way or act a certain way for a facade, but they're actually not like that at all. There's a lot of kids out there, and that probably just comes from me teaching in one of the schools where there was no uniform. So I could see right through that a little bit. All right. So another thing you can actually do, or what you can actually say to your kids, is what I say to mine sometimes, and I actually say this to adults as well. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I cannot remember who said that, but it was a famous quote. And I feel like it could have been Warren Buffett out of all people. I could be wrong because I remember strange things. So show me your friends and I'll show you your future. It is really, really important, because if they're hanging out with a kid that you know for sure, because you've done your research, is a bad influence, then one of two things are happening. They're curious. They want to try stuff out and just see what it's like to hang out with this crowd. Or two, they actually think that they can save them and help them. Are they a nurturing type of kid? Are they a kid who is wanting to help people? Because if they are, that's a different conversation altogether. And that is one about being able to detach yourself emotionally and physically from the behavior while still being present, which is a skill that not everyone has and not everyone can do. But some people are just born with it. And if that's one of your kids, kudos to you. You've done well. I don't know how you've done it, but some are just born that way. So if they're hanging out with people that you are not entirely keen on, so one, make sure that your concerns are valid and justified. And two, try and bring them up kind of on their behavior and how it's making them feel. So if you just say to them, I don't want you hanging around with that kid, they're not going to listen to you. They're actually going to hate it. They're going to run the other way. So what you can say to them is, I've noticed that anytime you hang out with such and such, this kid, whatever, or these friends, that when you do, you kind of come back a little bit different, and a little bit different in the way that you're maybe not as happy, or you come back a little bit sadder. You need to be coming from a place of care and concern, because if you're not, and you are going in there accusing them and pointing a finger and things like that, saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you're just going to push them away. You're going to lose it. You're going to lose them. They're going to lose you. And I'll give you an example of this. It's just popped into my head while I'm talking and babbling away here. Can you hear my dog walking away? His little tick, tick, ticks. An example of this was, well, I was actually at a family function, a family get-together one night where all the family was there. And one of my cousin's kids brought their partner at the time. I hope they're not watching this because they'll know who they are. Anyway, they brought their partner at the time. And this was after COVID, so it was a few years ago. And this person, they were young adults. They were grown, 19, 20. I noticed a few things about this partner of my cousin's kid who came. And I noticed a few things that, unless you've worked with it, you wouldn't see it. You might not notice it. And I noticed signs of self-harm on this person. They were and they saw me notice, and they knew that I noticed. So they were watching me, watching them type thing. Anyway, so rather than telling the parents or my cousin that she needs to get her child away from this person because there was self-harm, evidence of self-harm, I actually went to my cousin and I said to her, can you check in on such and such's partner that they've just brought to this function, because I'm seeing signs of self-harm, and rather than you accusing her of being involved in it or whatever, can you just say to them, is everything okay? Does your partner need any help? I'm happy to help. I understand. That there opened up a whole conversation that my cousin was not actually prepared for, but that's okay. The fact that she did that actually meant that the doors were well open for her child and her child's partner. I'm trying not to give names away. Child's partner to come and approach them and get some support and realize that, hey, this is a safe space. I can come here and have a chat about this. Anyway, all right, that's another one. I'll share my screen again and spin the wheel. It says a few more questions. I'll try and get through it a bit quicker. Otherwise, this is just me talking for a while. All right, 3 more questions. Let's go. It's not quite a podcast, but okay. I'm not sure this person actually wanted me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. How to understand, catch up on the thoughts of my teenage daughter. I'm just going to remove that. So basically you're asking how to understand your teenage daughter and catch up on the thoughts of your teenage daughter. Yeah, good luck with that. Teenage girls are actually thinking about all sorts of things. I know, because I was one once. Quite often they are worried about how they're looking, what they're going to wear, how hungry they are, but they don't want to admit it, whether or not their hair looks good. I wonder if that boy knows that I kind of like him, is something else they'll be thinking. Oh my God, is this teacher going to keep talking forever? All those kind of things. So a lot of the thoughts that they're thinking, good luck. Who knows what they're actually thinking half the time. But how you can get it out of them, that's what you need to do. So quite often I look at my kids and I will say to them, what's going on in that head of yours? It looks like you're off thinking about something. Where's your head at? Where did it go right now? Can you take me there too? I want to see what it's like. Things like that tend to work really well, I found it over the years. All right, I will share my screen quickly and try and get through this. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below on this chat or this video, and I will endeavour to get to it or at it. All right. I ask them questions, but they don't really talk to me. How do I get them to open up? All right, so that's another good question. I'm still sharing my screen. Stop sharing. So that's another good question. Very similar to what I was saying before about asking where's your head at? What's going on? You can't just come out and ask them over dinner, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And expect them to open up to you. So a lot of it needs to come in laterally or sideways, unless you are a trained psychologist working with this, which they're not going to like. No male teenager is actually going to like you sitting there, staring at them, looking them right in the eye and saying to them, tell me what's going on. No, none of them will like that. So that's why I'm saying you need to have a chat to them whilst you're driving, whilst you're folding washing, whilst you're making dinner. Get them involved. If they're doing something, they will talk to you more than if they're not. Whereas a girl, however, teenage daughter, will actually probably appreciate you looking her deep in the eye and going, hey, how are you going really? What's going on? Do you want to chat? They tend to appreciate that a little bit more. All right, let's keep moving on. Otherwise, it's just me talking to myself forever. All right, let's go. Last one. Do I have to spin the wheel? I don't know. I can't remember. I think so. Oh, where's the sound gone? Oh, this was probably one of the first questions that someone had. It was actually a really good one. Oh, okay. With technology and AI shaping how teens communicate and think, how do we help them stay independent thinkers without losing connection with us? So technology and AI changing how teens communicate and think. How do we help them stay independent thinkers without losing connection with us? Thank you very much for that question. I wish it came up first now. All right. It's a really good question. So I actually don't have the complete and full answer to this one just yet. We're all kind of watching. One of the biggest things I will say that I've started seeing a lot of is this technology and this AI doing the thinking for them. And then they are actually relying on the technology and the AI to be their brain while they're asleep in the back of the car or whilst the car's on autopilot, for example. So using the technology and the AI to communicate is okay, but using it to steer the ship or for it to be your brain is not as okay. So how do we get around that? Well, first of all, you need to be aware of what's going on, and you need to keep the communication lines open with a lot of the techniques and strategies I suggested actually before, because what you run the risk of also is that a lot of the AIs are actually turning into therapists, friends, and a lot of kids are actually turning to these AI bots to be their friends because they're a little bit lonely. And the risk you are running there is that it's a language model. AI is trained to pick up and learn language and learn patterns. It is not trained in empathy. It is not trained in mental health strategies. It is a massive pattern recognition platform. So you give it enough information about these issues, it's plucking all these patterns out of thin air and giving you an answer that it thinks is actually correct without taking into account of anything else. So keeping that in the back of your head is something that I would be telling your kids as well, that whilst AI is smart, it is only picking up on patterns at the moment with language and letters and numbers and things like that. So you might be thinking that it's thinking, and it actually is a little bit, but it's not thinking the way you think that it's thinking, if that makes sense. I would rather you come and speak to a trusted adult or a trusted confidant or a therapist or anyone who is trained as a person with those human skills. That is something I would be saying to them. And also you could probably ask them how they're using this technology. And if you're using this technology in the same sort of way, then they're going to be seeing that from you. So be mindful of that as well. I was trying to think of something else. I can't think of anything right now. It was off the top of my head. All right. What I'm going to do, just to wrap this up, I'm not going to share my screen because I'm going to be reading. I'm actually going to read you, at the start of the video, I told you I wrote a little bit of a story, a little bit of a script with regards to helping kids find their path and what they want to do when they're a bit older, when they finish school, if you like. So the other day, this thought actually, when I saw this question, it popped up in my mind. And I'm actually going to read this to you. And if you want a copy of this story, let me know. Just know that it's all in the delivery. If you don't want to hear this story, it'll probably take me a few minutes to read. That is fine. You can log off now. Otherwise, settle back, sit back, relax, and have a listen. Because the other day, I was thinking about ants. And a few of you have heard me speak about these little guys before. I was thinking about the queen and then all the smaller ants. Not the big, nasty ants. The small little ones you see in your garden. They just wander around all day, those ants. But deep within the rich, textured soil of an ancient garden, there they live. The ants, that is. A colony of remarkable ants And at the heart of this colony is the queen, a presence of steady, quiet wisdom who watched over the cycles of growth with a knowing gaze. In the safety of the nest, the young ants were raised with meticulous care. They spend their days in the cool, dark corridors, feeling the rhythmic vibrations of the colony and hearing the soft rustle of their siblings moving through the galleries. During this time, they are learning many things. And it is a good thing to learn. It's a very good thing to learn. And it's a good thing to wonder. I bet you're wondering right now what the ants are actually learning. I'll tell you. They're learning and building. They're building the internal maps. They're learning those internal maps that would one day be used to navigate the vast world above. The queen would often touch them with their antennae, a gesture of shared knowledge, presupposing that they already possessed every resource they would ever need to succeed. She knew that while the ants felt small, the ants can carry 50 times its own body weight. An incredible fact that remains one of the hidden strengths stored within. Eventually, the day arrived for the young ones to take their first step out into the up there. As they moved towards the surface, the light became brighter and the air began to move in ways they had never felt before. And it smells different too. But the light, it was still getting brighter and warmer the further the ants travelled. The warmth was soothing. It was beckoning the ants. It was calling them. And then when they finally stepped onto the surface, the world looked impossibly large. The blades of grass were like towering emerald pillars, and the sky was a vast, unending blue that seems to stretch forever, as far as the eye can see. And the lights, oh my, the light, it was so bright and lovely and warm. The ants felt a flicker of fear, a natural part of any new journey. They looked at the giant shadows and heard the booming sounds of the garden. But then they remembered the queen's quiet call. She had always known they would find their way to the big up there. The light. It was so big and so bright. They began to notice the pheromone trails, invisible maps laid down by those who had gone before. And then they realized they could trust their own instincts to guide them. Those trails, those scents, they were familiar, but they couldn't quite place the smell. The ants just knew. They knew to trust it, to follow it. As they followed, each ant began to discover what it was supposed to do and where it was supposed to go, although they were never told. And the light, oh my, it's still so bright and warm. Its unique purpose. One found a special talent for scouting, another for navigating, and another for strength of the hull. There were infinite opportunities. It wasn't scary at all. The light seemed to have moved, the warm light. What is that? Why is it not as warm anymore? The ants knew they should return. They followed the familiar scent home. The big, warm, bright light was almost gone now. But wait, what's that? Is that another one appearing? It's not as warm as the ants thought though. And they still knew they must go. When they returned to the nest, they were somehow different. They were stronger, they were wiser, and more certain of who they were. The queen greeted them with the same knowing look, acknowledging that they had finally realized what she had known all along and what the ants did too. And as you wonder about the ants being safe in their nest, you might wonder how easily you will find yourself moving into your own future, carrying that same quiet wisdom with you everywhere you go. That's it. Welcome back. Lovely. All right. Well, that is the end of our Q&A session. Thank you very much if you managed to stay all the way through to the end. Don't forget to follow my YouTube channel, Talking Teens Official, where I post more podcast stuff and pretty much daily shorts. That's becoming a bit of a running commentary of my thoughts, to be honest. As well as join my free school community if you're not in here because you're watching it on YouTube and nowhere else. All right. Have a good rest of your day and I'll see you next time. Bye.